Greetings and welcome to a new narration done by DrTorment. The following story may or may not prove rather sensitive to some listeners. Discretion is advised, and consider this your one and only warning. Now, with that out of the way, let us proceed. Nancy had just gotten home from work when she checked her mailbox and noticed it was full. Most were just bills, coupons, and spam newsletters. She lost interest midway and threw the bundle on the kitchen table, sending envelopes everywhere. One particular envelope caught her attention. The size and shape were not like the others, and it had no return address on it. Her curiosity had gotten the better of her, and she used a kitchen knife to open the strange envelope and spill out the contents. It contained only a single piece of oxblood red paper. She turned the paper over, scrutinized each side, looking for a message or writing of any kind. But the paper was blank. She thought it was a prank and was not at all amused. She huffed as she tossed a piece of paper onto the counter and left the kitchen. The paper landed on the counter and began to fold itself into a 6-inch tall origami demon. It laughed a tiny mischievous laugh and ran after Nancy. It caught up to her and sank its paper fangs into her ankle. It felt like a paper cut, and she cried out. She kicked it away, causing it to jump off before cackling impishly, and ran away. It was then that Nancy realized what this letter was all about. It was a prank. A revenge prank, of course. But she couldn't understand why anyone would want revenge against someone like her. She thought herself to be better than the average person, and so was incapable of offending others. Sure, she did make mistakes and piss people off from time to time, but they were only minor issues. Such as the time when she called the police on her neighbor when their baby shower music had been too loud. Or when she sprayed her prize hibiscus with chemicals because the neighbor's dog liked playing in them. The chemicals she used had killed the dog, but that wasn't her fault. It was her yard and her flowers, so she could do whatever she wanted. She searched the house for the little demon when she heard a crash coming from the living room. She ran into the room to see it had knocked over a priceless antique vase. It laughed as it ran back into the kitchen. She followed it and saw it throwing food items from the pantry. It was making such a big mess on the floor. So Nancy snuck up behind it and caught it by the horns, and quickly tore it into pieces before it could bite her again. Satisfied, she swept up the pieces and threw them into the trash. That night, as she slept, she heard a familiar, tiny, mischievous laughter. Her eyes flew open to see that the torn pieces of paper had folded themselves into a dozen tiny paper demons. They were standing on her bed, holding a kitchen knife into their little paper hands, as if it were a medieval battering ram. Before she could react, they stabbed the knife into her throat. And so we've come to the end of our session. I would like to take a moment here to thank all you listeners who have joined us in this session. I would also like to go ahead and invite everyone attending to go ahead and check the link found in the description below. It is the source of this particular story and the original creator, so do give them a special thanks and do let them know who it was that sent you their way. Your support means a lot, and I cannot stress this enough, so please consider liking, commenting, and even subscribing to the channel. Then lastly, for those who are willing, consider having a look at our Patreon page and keep up to date with our latest narrations and some other opportunities. This was Dr. Torment bidding you adieu, and remember, don't fall asleep ever.